All right, good morning and welcome to the Mercer County Community Development Spring 2017 breakfast. I think this is probably close to being the largest. Every year it seems like these things get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's a testament to the community, our business members, school leaders, community leaders. I think we have pretty good topics every year, but again, this is a testament of people caring and wanting to come together and hear what we have to say. So, yeah, appreciate everyone coming this morning. My name is Jared Ebbing. I'm the Mercer County Community and Economic Development Director, and we're going to try to stay on task here. So we're going to get started right away with first the pledge. Then we're going to have Commissioner Greg Holman come up to give the invocation. Then Robert's is going to dismiss you by table for breakfast. We probably will start, as some are not completed yet eating, just to again stay on task here. So with that, we're going to start the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We gather this morning to network to share about your good work. It's clear you should care. For the children, the families, and the communities around, for the farmers, the businesses, and even this town. It's important to learn, to discuss, and to plan. You came here this morning with an open mind as we began. A morning invested to our future and goals, a brisk cup of coffee and food for your souls. An update on projects and business development will hear, things going on, and the direction will steer. Efforts to develop the skills for today, schools and TriStar, the importance they play. Preparing our future and lighting our youth, not much more important to tell you the truth. The crowd here is large, it's impressive, you'd say, a tribute to the work of Jared and Renee. All types of businesses and interests will find, business of all shapes, all sizes and kind. Producing items so different and neat, koozies, lift trucks, and even turkey breast meat. Your job's about people from all walks of life, your former classmate and even his wife. Veterans, parents, and a man down the street, jobs provide a foundation, a lifeblood, a heartbeat. Small businesses provide support to help and to foster, such as your local IT and your neighborhood doctor. Members of government who step forward to lead, providing for your safety, for your health care, whatever your need. We remember the military, their service, their price, paid for our freedom, their honor, their sacrifice. Proud of our success and the plans we have laid, time for our glory and the accomplishments we've made. We thank you, dear Lord, for those that prepared, the food we will eat, and the skills they have shared. All this possible with you as our guide, grateful for you and the blessings you provide. Our prayer has been spoken, and it's fitting now then to close here this morning with a praise of amen.
Okay, good morning. And before we get started, I just wanted to introduce a few of our elected officials that were able to make it here this morning. First, I just want to introduce, and we'll all pause to the end, but introduce a couple of our commissioners. Jerry Lapham wasn't able to make it, but you heard from Commissioner Greg Holman before, and Rick Mulligan. You can raise your hand there. Yep. We also have our state senator, before Matt Huffman. Matt, thanks for coming. We have representatives from Congressman Warren Davidson's office and Congressman Bob Latta's office, Ben Thaler and Jenna Pepper. Thanks. We also have Angie King, our Mercer County Recorder here. And we have Dave Kaiser, our Mercer County Treasurer, and our newly elected Treasurer, Dave Waters, here. Okay. We have a couple of mayors, several mayors. Joe Knapshafer, Village of Coldwater. Jeffrey Hazel, City of Salina, and Steve Kesters, Village of St. Henry. We also have several school board members here this morning. Gary Horn, Coldwater Schools, Matt Gilmore, Salina City Schools, and Tess Mesher, Mercer County Education Service Board. Okay, that's with all of our elected officials. I do want to introduce a few other folks. We have Shelley Busey here. Those that haven't met her yet, she's our new AMBE Career Pathway Coordinator, so everybody say hi to Shelley. If you haven't had a chance to meet her yet as a business, please do so. Got a lot of great opportunities here going with AMBE, and appreciate her being on board. We also have the AMBE President, Randy Hemmelgard. I thought I saw you here before. There he is. Here, Randy. Thanks. Also wanted to thank my staff, Renee Mullenkamp for everything put this together. Also Teresa Dirksen, our Ag Solutions Coordinator in our office, for helping pull all this together. And also thank Romer's for another great breakfast. So, with that, I wanted to just get into this morning's conversation. And I'm going to, like we did last year, turn it over to other people that can talk better about the topic. Last year, if you recall, we had TriStar up here talking about the TriStar initiative. This year, we're going to have and appreciate Karen Rose and Shelley Vaughn being here this morning from the Mercer County ESC. I think you'll be really interested to hear this next initiative that we have planned here for Mercer County. And really what it all goes into is what you see up here. We started doing these breakfasts 7-8 years ago on this topic. And this topic being, what do we want our community to look like in 10 years? What do we want it to look like in 15 years? Yes, things are going great right now. You saw that banner over there by the beverages. Mercer County was ranked in the top 10 of all micropolitan counties across the country. You know, there's 700 micropolitan counties across the country. We were top 10 in economic development activity. So it's great, but I can guarantee you that would not happen without every piece of the puzzle. It's not what our office is doing, it's what everybody's doing. And in order to sustain that, because I can guarantee you that top 10 would not happen without things like that. When we started these breakfast forums, you know, and I think one of the first ones we had was so small, it was just in that little back room at Romer's where we launched Hometown Opportunity, just on an idea of how do we connect more dots? How do we get more people to be aware of all the opportunity that exists here? Because it does exist here. Since Hometown Opportunity launched, we posted almost 10,000 jobs on that website in 4 years. There's 500 jobs on there right now, and they're only good for 45 days. We're averaging 2,000 hits a day on the site. It's just growing and growing and growing. It gives confidence to the businesses that we can attract kids back. We can attract people here to the area to fill the positions that we have. So it kind of started with Hometown Opportunity in that back little room with a small group of interested community members. Then a couple years after that, down there if you see the AMBE banner, kind of launched AMBE, and Jack Busher was up here talking about what the AMBE should do, which is the Auglaize and Mercer Business and Education Alliance. How do we truly connect dots? It's not just a website. How do we truly make sure that kids and young people understand what's here? So from that, launched the Talent Connection Forum. That's been a great success at Wright State with the help of the ESC. Obviously last year was TriStar. Asked the same question. What do we want our community to look like in 10 years? It passed overwhelmingly. People want to make sure that in 10 years, 15 years, we have the workforce we need. We have the community we need to be thinkers, to be doers, to do the things that we need to grow as a community, to be entrepreneurs, to be, whatever the sky's the limit. So TriStar was up here last year. So again, I want to introduce Shelley from the Mercer County ESC, because this next initiative is really the engine of everything. We're putting the wheels on the car, but driving down to our core of who we are, as technology in the world changes very, very quickly. Do we want to be slaves to technology, or do we want to be the masters of it? And I think what they're going to talk about here today is starting at a younger age, so more kids know what TriStar even is, or they know how to communicate with AMBE and Talent Connection Forum and all the businesses that we have, so that it makes it easier for them to know what Hometown Opportunity is and does. So I think what we're kind of working backwards, but this next piece is probably the most important to really get the engine going and continue the success that we've had over the last several years to continue that well into the future. So with that, I'm going to introduce Shelley Vaughn from the Mercer County ESC.
Good morning. I just want to start off by saying Mercer County schools are great. They're great. We have high-performing districts. We have students that work hard. We have dedicated staff members. And we have exceptional parent community support. And for that, we thank you. We thank you very much. So we have the capacity. We do have the capacity to do more to prepare our students for this rapidly changing world. InvestED is an opportunity for teachers to shift their craft, to learn how to create hands-on, critical thinking learning experiences for our students in all grade levels and across all disciplines. We're partnering with Discovery Education to provide professional development learning, ongoing support for those teachers to make this shift happen in our classrooms. So why InvestED? We're great, but we can be even greater. We've been in a system of education that's heavily focused upon accountability. We want and need to be held accountable. We understand that and we value that. After all, we're responsible for teaching and molding our most precious commodity, our children, and our future workforce. But in our current systems of accountability, it can create environments where there's less risk-taking. And a low-risk environment is a low-learning environment. InvestED is a systemic approach to professional development. It includes a session in October that brings a national conference to us for all 450 educators in the county. It also includes highlighting 75 teachers who will be called our STEM Leader Corps. They will receive intensive professional development. In addition to that, coaching. So in their classrooms to have people by their sides to help guide them in this shift in instruction. It's about teamwork. Through InvestED, we'll create more positive teamwork opportunities across districts. When we share best practices across districts, we foster that positive school culture. People can challenge each other to do great work for kids. And let's talk a little bit about technology. Technology, we need to make it about learning. Even with all the one-to-one initiatives where students already have those devices in their hands, it's often still viewed as an add-on to what we do in education and in our classrooms. So if it's used correctly, it can be a natural fit into instruction. Through InvestED, this shift will happen. This initiative, InvestED, is systemic. In education, there is a tremendous amount of research out there, and in our local school districts, we have limited budgets. And so often in education, not just in Mercer County, but across the nation, we do this piecemeal approach. We kind of tend to throw things against the wall and see if they'll stick. InvestED is not that. It's a systemic approach. It's a 4-year commitment to move from great to greater. District and building leaders from all 6 Mercer County schools are here today because they are invested in this and they want to focus on improvement in our schools. We've decided to embark on this 4-year transformation in Mercer County, and we needed some help with the branding and marketing. So on your invitations and on the banners, you see this InvestED logo. When we wanted to get into the marketing piece of this, it was a natural fit for us to turn to TriStar and Mr. Termeyer's graphic communications class. So we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to highlight one of these great students that we have here in Mercer County, Hope Bruggeman, to talk a little bit about her design.
Good morning. I'm Hope Bruggeman, a junior in the Graphic Communications TriStar program. I feel grateful for the opportunity to design a logo being used in our community. I created a set of adaptable icons that individually represent the various areas of interest and InvestED for publications, design, and media usage. When joined, they constitute a light bulb representative of the connections made within the program. Student knowledge, the representation, or the thoughts and creativity generated to help build a bright future for upcoming generations and students. Having a STEM initiative in Mercer County is a great idea.
Thank you, Hope. And you have to know that we just sent her our thoughts. And this is what she came up with. So we're really proud of the work that you've done, and we can't wait to highlight it over the years of this initiative. So Hope's a great example of self-directed learning. We understand that self-directed learning isn't just for students, it's for teachers too. And so InvestED is about creating that environment for teachers to be successful and for teachers to create those learning environments that will help our students grow and be prepared for the world of work and the world beyond K-12. So how did we get here? Why are we here to this point today with InvestED? And to share a little bit more about that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to our Director of Curriculum, Karen Rose.
Well, I would also like to thank all of you for coming. I am floored at the constant support for our schools and our initiatives. I've only worked in Mercer County in this capacity for 2 years. I came from a neighboring ESC within our region, I have to tell you, hands down, you are remarkable. So prior to that, I taught here in Mercer County, so I've known for a long time that our community believes in our schools. But you have to continue to believe in and support us because our kids deserve it, quite frankly they do. So how do we end up here? As Shelley mentioned, we have a lot of great stuff going on. We really do. In the 2 years that I've worked in this capacity, a lot of my job responsibilities have centered around fostering this business and school relationship, getting past the idea that business relationship or business support is simply, attending events or making donations. Those are kind of handshake partnerships. We want real, genuine partnerships where both the businesses understand more what's happening in our schools, but also the schools can better understand what's happening in our local businesses and what is needed for our future workforce. I've grown up in this area and I've driven past all kinds of businesses and I never had any clue what was going on behind those doors. I've been a school teacher, I was a student, and then I was a teacher. So I know plenty of things about schools, but I have no idea the wonderful things and really, really innovative things that are happening locally and that our kids deserve to know about and experience. So in the past couple of years, we've done lots of activities. We did the Talent Connection Forum. We did teacher tours throughout local businesses to better build their capacity and understanding of what is available here locally and what kind of technology is being used. This year we embarked on a year-long STEM challenge series that we incorporated business partners in, and that was offered to 3,400 kids participated in those STEM challenges. We had, I think, about 177 classrooms participating. It was a large undertaking and it was awesome. But at the end of the day, all of those things were just activities. They've served our businesses well, they've served our teachers well, and they've served our students well, but doing those standalone things is not the way to have widespread systemic change. Our vision really is that we move into what would be considered the Mercer County way. And when I say the Mercer County way, it just highlights a couple of things. We need to move from kind of the memorization or regurgitation of information into the self-directed learning, problem-based education for all students, K to 12. This cannot start when they get to TriStar as juniors and seniors. This really, really needs to start and across all content areas. This is not a science or math initiative. This is all content areas. The idea that we will be using innovative approaches to incorporate writing, effective use of technology, as Shelley said, not just a glorified note taker or presentation tool, and engineering design. And the idea that kids should experience problem solving and failure. Failure of their design is some of our best learning, and we know this as adults. When we don't have the right idea the first time around is probably when we learn the most. And this is okay for our kids to experience some struggles and develop some of that stamina, endurance, a commitment to solving the problem. We would really like to see, and we know and believe that by doing this, we're really going to develop those employability skills and college readiness skills so our kids are ready to fly when they leave us. Our goal should not be, and it is not, that they graduate from us. Our goal should be that they graduate to something and they're well prepared to do that. We also really believe and know that this will foster high level engagement in education for students of all talents and interests and skill levels. So often, kids who face difficulty in traditional education tune out at a very young age, and they look at school as marking days or years off the how much longer do I have to do this. We don't want that. We want kids to say, how much longer do I get to do this? Do I get to learn? Do I get to foster my ideas and bring something to the table? And finally, we really, really believe and know that our kids' education should be transdisciplinary. They should not, and we do not as adults, only read between the hours of 8:30 and 9:45 a.m. And we only do writing between the hours of 9:45 to 10:30 in our day. We are doing reading, writing, math, engineering, problem solving, collaboration, communication all day long. That's part of being an effective adult employee. It's just what needs to happen to move our kids in our community from being great to being this really, really rich, amazing educational experience. So as Shelley said, this is quite a commitment and undertaking on the part of the teachers that participate. Our goal is to have 75 teachers across Mercer County go through the Teacher Leader Corps. And as she said, that will require a significant commitment on their part, but it's a commitment that I believe as a professional educator, they should and will jump at the chance to become better at their craft and inspire their kids. It's a marriage between professional development, where they'll be in a cohort of 25 teachers, and then have ongoing instructional coaching. Because our office is kind of small, I am the entire curriculum department for the county. I can support people, but there is no way I could provide ongoing instructional coaching that's effective and impactful for 75 teachers over time. So we, after much research, found that our best partner would be to partner with Discovery Education. So I am happy to have Jonathan Gerlach here and to welcome Jonathan to speak with all of you about the importance of this sort of thing and kind of why your community, our community, can't afford to say no to this. We can't afford not to do this. Jonathan has a pretty impressive resume. He's an Albert Einstein Distinguished Educator and a NASA STEM Endeavor Fellow. He has a deep background in STEM, including certification from Columbia University Teachers College in STEM education with a distinction in STEM education leadership, which he utilizes while providing his expertise in STEM ed, curriculum development, professional development, coaching, and school culture transformation. He has collaborated with teachers and leaders around the country, as well as professors, in understanding the impact of STEM professional development. Please help me in welcoming Jonathan.
I'm going to switch to a different microphone because I can't stand behind podiums. Good morning. Good morning. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and I'm going to probably stand right in front of this all afternoon. Thank you all for being here. This is just fantastic. I have the pleasure and opportunity to travel around the world talking to groups like yourself, talking to teachers, talking with, I literally have opportunities to talk in groups in front of 4 people and 1,200 people. And every single time I meet with anyone and we get the opportunity to talk about STEM, it's truly just an honor and privilege, especially in communities. What's so impressive, and we were actually saying this earlier to our group, which is the fact that you are all here, this turnout of the community is such an important and such a blessing for this community. It's incredible to see so many leaders in industry, in business, in farming, in the community come together and say, you know what, this is important for us as a community to communicate, to talk, to have these discussions, to be able to come together and have critical discourse about how do we continue to move forward. Not just come together and say, hey, we're doing a great job and pat each other on the back, but how do we take that next step? We're doing great, but how do we become even greater? So I think that's actually really important, and you're going to see the purpose behind this real quick. So, growing up, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Any Buffalonians here? Anyone? See, there's always, everywhere I go, there's at least one. You know why? Because in Buffalo, there's 2 types of Buffalonians. There's the ones who grow up there, live there, and stay there forever, and then there's the ones who grow up there, live there, and then they leave and never come back. And I live in Tampa, so you can tell which one I am. But I grew up in Buffalo, New York, went to Wanaka Elementary for 2nd grade, and I'll never forget my 2nd grade teacher. Her name was Dr. Lavolo. Dr. Lavolo was the authoritative teacher. She was a former principal who went back to the classroom to end her career. Dr. Lavolo, if you've ever seen the movie or read the book or the Broadway play Matilda, Trunchbull, you know, the one who's yelling, and that was Dr. Lavolo. However, Dr. Lavolo did something that was really important to me. And what she did was she saw flames of STEM in what I was doing, and she fanned them. And this is how. 2nd grade, about halfway through the year, I went up to Dr. Lavolo, and I said, Dr. Lavolo, I want to build a dinosaur in the classroom. And of course, many teachers, especially when I was growing up, would have literally said, Jonathan, sit down, stop coming up to me, I was that kid, and asking random questions. However, she asked one of the most important questions that anyone ever did. She asked, why? I said, well, Dr. Lavello, I'm very passionate about dinosaurs. I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up, and I'd love to share my passion with my fellow classmates. Obviously, I was a very good speaker when I was a second grader. But she looked at me and she said, you know what? Come up with a plan, and we could do this. So for 3 weeks, we brought in cardboard boxes, any pieces of cardboard we could find, and every day I'd paint them green. And by the end of 3 weeks, we had this 3-foot-tall pile of green trash in the corner of the room. That to me, though, looked like the most amazing T-Rex I'd ever seen in my whole life. And what she did right there was she saw something that connected to me, saw something that I was passionate about, and latched on and did something about it. I keep going through my childhood, and I grew up, and this is one of my favorite movies when I grew up, Space Camp. Any Space Camp fans? Come on, Steven Spielberg's Wife. I mean, great, great movie. Talk about inspiring. I watched Space Camp, and I realized after watching that I wanted to be the very first paleontologist astronaut. Think about it, you never know. But when you're talking about this, think about Space Camp as a movie, if you've ever seen it back in the day. Think about movies back in the day. I watched Space Camp, and I was inspired to go to space. I wanted to be an astronaut thinking about that. The last 3 space movies I saw, The Martian, Gravity, Interstellar. Not one of those movies ever makes me want to go into outer space, ever. Seriously, think about it. The way that we're inspiring our kids, our mass media, our movie industries, we're not laying that same groundwork of showing kids what's so important about exploration, what's so interesting about innovation and doing and going beyond. We don't have those same inspirations anymore. Space Camp was that. So I actually had the opportunity to go to Space Camp. I had the opportunity to go to Space Camp 3 different times as an adult. Yes, again, I am still that kid. The third time, though, was a very important piece of my education. And it was when I was a teacher, and I got to take 10 students to a program at Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama called SciViz. And if you've never heard of SciViz, very few people have. It's called Space Camp for Interested Visually Impaired Students. They have 150 visually impaired students come from all over the world, with 35 countries represented that year. And all over the world, these kids come, and they take a whole week going through Space Camp with every accommodation that they could have to make them successful. Brailing all the controls, special readers for anything that they're doing. It's an incredible experience, and I'll never forget it because the very first day that they're there, we asked the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And there's a little girl from Vancouver, Canada there. And when I got to her, she goes, Mr. G, I want to be a hairstylist. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. She has a dream. That's fantastic. I said, why? She goes, well, that's what my mom told me I could be. And my heart totally sank at that point. Because I was like, wow, she was just told what you're going to be because that's the only thing you could do. At the end of the week, we asked the same question, what do you want to be when you grow up? She looked at me, she goes, Mr. G, I want to be an engineer. I said, well, why? She goes, well, I know I can. And I get chills every time I tell that story. I've told that story 1,500, probably 2,000 times now. And every time I get chills. Because that experience, showing students what's possible, what they're capable of, is something that truly changed their life, and is something we need to do not just for those students, but for all students. Showing them what is possible in their lives. I continued down my path, went to the U.S. Senate for a year, worked on STEM education policy underneath Senator Bennett from Colorado. At the time I was in the U.S. Senate, there was only 3 people in the whole United States Congress who had an education background. 3 people. He was one of them. He was a former superintendent for Denver Public Schools. So he had an idea of what he was talking about. But the reason why I bring that up is because he taught me one thing. Oh, he taught me a few things, but we could talk about that for a long time. He taught me one really important thing, which is that he told me, he said, Jonathan, data doesn't matter by itself. No one remembers the data. No one remembers the 32%, or the 19%, or the 48%, or the 97%. No one remembers those numbers. He said people remember stories. People remember those personal connections. If you think about it, if I ask someone in here what your reading score, or what your SAT score, or what some number. It might take you a while to think about it. However, if I ask you about a specific circumstance, you probably have a story that goes with it if you have a good memory of it. That's what we need for our students. When I started teaching, I was a 4th grade teacher. And when I was a 4th grade teacher, I taught in Tampa, Florida, where I live right now. And I taught at a Title I school. I had kids who were living in tents behind their parents' house. I had kids who were living in the motel down the street this month, and hopefully they were going to be in the same motel or one in a similar area next month, so they'd stay in my classroom. And those students, when they came into my classroom at the beginning of the year, there was 2 types of students who walked in. There's those who, like myself, were Gator fans. I know, I'm not in Gator country here, it's okay. You can boo, I get it everywhere. But there's those who came in and were like, oh, they see my Gator stuff, they're like, Mr. Gerlach, Gators, yeah, go Gators. And then I have the kids who came in, and they were Seminole fans, and they would ignore me or boo and hiss, and then I had that one kid who was a Notre Dame fan. I'm like, how did you get to Tampa? But at the same sense, by the end of the year, almost every single student in my classroom was a Gator fan. You know why? Because they saw that I was passionate about it, and they heard my stories, and they became passionate about it. Kids latch onto those. Those stories are what we need to share with our students. Those are the things that inspire them and get them excited. That's why a community coming together and being able to think about how do I inspire our students, how do we inspire our students across the county is truly important. Here's why I continue to do it. So that's my daughter right there. I was told when I started my speaking engagements long ago that if I didn't show a picture of my daughter in every PowerPoint, I was a bad dad. So there she is. So she's 3 years old. My daughter's 3 years old right now, and she's like 21 when it really comes to how she acts. She tells me how to do everything and manipulates everyone in the household. But my daughter, who's 3, and this just came to me a few weeks ago, when she is 21, 20, when she's entering the workforce, it's going to be about 2039, year 2039. When she retires, when she's 65, if she's able to retire at 65, it's going to be 2079. When we hit the 22nd century, she's going to be 86. The students who we're growing, the students who we're building now, aren't just being prepared for the 21st century. We're in the 21st century. We hear about 21st century learning, and we need to get students ready for that. We're past getting them ready for the 21st century. We're in the 21st century. We need to start thinking about how do we get them up to speed in the 21st century and getting them ready for what's next along the way. When we talk about STEM, we don't look at it just as science, technology, engineering, and math anymore. This acronym has changed. STEM can't be just content anymore. Why? Well, there's one word that has actually changed the whole implications of STEM across the whole world. And that word? Googleable. Think about it. Content expertise is now at your fingertips 24/7. How many kids, how many adults do you know that are self-declared content experts because they could use their phone and look up something on Google? Content's now readily at our fingertips where it never was before. If you're trying to solve a problem and you don't know the exact diagnosis, you don't know how to fix a specific part, or you don't know what chemicals to use, you don't have to go and do research anymore or call in experts. Go online, find the information. It's readily available now. I always use the example, if I want to create a computer code, guess what? There's a great YouTube video on how to create your own app. How to make solar panels, or step-by-step directions on how to create your own solar panels from scratch. DNA replication. There's a lot on DNA replication online. Translation, not even just talking in the sciences. Used to be you go to another country, you needed a translator. Now you take out your phone. I was at a conference recently in Dallas called ITEEA. It's the International Technology Engineering Education Association. And a delegation from China came up to me afterwards and took out their phone, legitimately, and started talking into their phone so that the phone could talk to me in English. And we had a conversation just using this app. We don't need the same, content expertise is changing. This is my favorite, how to fix a carburetor. My friend has a truck at home, and he is not a mechanic. He's never worked on cars except for his one truck, but he fixes his own truck. He diagnoses it, takes sometimes up to a few weeks to figure out exactly what's going wrong, looks up how to fix what's going wrong. If he can, he'll actually print the part on his 3D printer that he needs for his car and installs it. And he's now totally gotten rid of the need for content expertise. Now granted, would I ever get in his car with him? Absolutely not. But in the same sense, were we able to do that 5, 6, even 10, 15 years ago? Content is now so at our fingertips. It's changing how industry, how you all are looking at STEM every single day. It's not just about do you have the content knowledge, it's how we're actually looking at the world, how we're connecting. It's not just this class anymore, STEM. It's a culture of learning. It's how we learn. It's these bigger pieces, what we used to call soft skills, that are now turning into critical skills. We actually like to redefine it as students and teachers energizing minds. It's how do we get students engaged and excited about what they're learning about. There's actually one of those, I like to call it a duh research study, because it's one of those that you hear and you're like, duh, like we already knew that. Why do we have to do research on it? But there's a research study out there that says when students are engaged and interested about what they're learning, they do better. Again, one of those duh, like of course they do. But that's the thing, is how do we continue to engage them? How do we get them interested in what they're doing? It's about these 21st century skills that not for the future, it's for now. These are the skills that have been recognized as the 4 most important things for industry, for research, for education, the 4 C's. Looking at them, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity. To be able to think differently about the world. It's not just about the content anymore, it's how we learn. It's can you utilize those skills? I could look up on Google how to fix a carburetor, but can I look up on Google and become an expert in creativity? And be extremely creative? Can I look up and be a critical thinker and all of a sudden be an expert in how to think critically? No. These are the things that we need to start building within our schools. This is not just for now. The World Economic Forum came together and this is what they said. In 2015, they said complex problem solving, coordinating with others. You can see what they said are the most important skills. They're saying in 2020, the most important ones are going to be, again, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. The one that I love is that Forbes recently said that creativity is the #1 skill needed for a CEO or leaders in innovation to compete in a global society. Because without creativity, you're just copying someone else. Think about that whole idea. Our global workforce is changing. These STEM skills, 90% of jobs by 2020 are going to utilize these skills. Think about it in your own workplace right now. Those 4 C's, are they critical to your employees? Thinking about higher ed even. It used to be that if you got a perfect score on the SAT or ACT, any Ivy League school would offer you a scholarship immediately. Now, that's not the only thing they're looking for. They're now looking for, how are you utilizing your knowledge? What are you doing with it? Because that's just as important as having the knowledge. Because that knowledge, it's not becoming the only commodity anymore. It's being able to do something with it. Our jobs, 65% of the jobs our students will have, they don't even exist yet. How many of you, when you were growing up, you sat down with a counselor and they said, here's the jobs that you could have when you grow up. And they had the set list, and it was pretty set. Well, we can't do that anymore with students. We don't know what those jobs are going to be. And if you say, okay, well, that sounds like a lot of jobs, 65%, well, I'm going to give you 4 of them real quick here. iOS developer. In 2008, there was only 89 iOS developers. By 2013, there was over 12,500 of them. If you don't know what an iOS developer does, they're the ones who make those apps for your iPhone, for iPads. Huge industry now. Data scientists. In 2008, there was 142. 2013, over 4,500. Data has become a very important thing to us as a society. big data architects, the ones who look at metadata. No one ever thought about taking research studies with data and putting them together and saying, okay, well, we have these 9 research studies. What do they tell us when we include them all together? How do we look at data beyond just one piece of information, but looking at all the data together? Here's my favorite. Imagine going up to someone 10, 15 years ago and saying, yeah, I'm a cloud service specialist. What kind of looks would you have gotten? So you work in weather? I mean, there's over 3,500 of them in 2013, or just about 3,500. I guarantee there's a lot more. How many of us, raise your hand if you have something in the cloud? If you have a smartphone, you have something in the cloud right now. Because regardless of it being music, contacts, pictures. Now, granted, could anyone actually tell me what the cloud is? Because to me, it's still this magical place where unicorns and rainbows and leprechauns still live. But at the same point, it's something that's part of our life every single day. And it's something that wasn't there just a few years ago. It's something that's changed dramatically. We need to become more proactive versus reactive. Think about it for a second. To be successful in our future, that's what you're talking about here, going from great to greater. The iPhone was a proactive innovation. Think about creativity again. When the iPhone came out, it was a game changer. If you remember those very first few years where Apple had their little get together, and they showed the new features of the iPhone, and it didn't matter if you were at work or what you worked, everybody was staring at that screen, watching what was happening with the new iPhone. Because it was so innovative, it was so creative. And there was tons of companies out there that tried to copy that. You know, the reactive one, the BlackBerry 8300. How many of you have a BlackBerry 8300? No one? How many of you have BlackBerry? Anyone have BlackBerry still? Very few of us in the world. I don't have one. But think about that. When companies become reactive to the environment, then they're missing out. They're going to miss the boat. If we're being proactive, you're leading the way. I always use the example of Nokia as another great example. Growing up, I got my very first cell phone long, long time ago. And it was that one that had Snake on it, you know, the old Nokia. It was like, oh, I have a video game on my phone? This is amazing. And it was the one little dot that went around. Nokia tried to realize very quickly that they couldn't compete with Apple. They didn't have the same innovation. They had to get creative. They had to say, okay, well, we could try to compete and go the way of some other companies that now don't make phones anymore and no longer exist, or we could think creatively of how do we start using this in a different way. Nokia did something very different. How many of us have a Nokia phone right now? Anyone? One? There's usually one or two. You know what Nokia does now? And they're the #1 at this. They changed what they looked at. They said, you know what? Personal cell phones isn't the way for us. We can't compete in that market. They changed their market. They got creative. They're now the #1 producer and manufacturer of emergency response equipment and telecommunications. They said personal cell phones, not going to work. However, we could do a really good job in this market. And they have. They got creative. They thought differently. That's what we need our students to do. One little quick video to kind of end this, if you will. Make sure this is in here. Because we need to make sure that our students are prepared for whatever their future is, not just for what the future is now, and giving our students the ability, and I love that Hope's here, because giving the students the ability to realize that they can make a difference now, that their impact doesn't have to be 10, 15 years down the road. We have made a lot of problems in our society, our generations have. They're the ones who are going to have to fix them. So we need to start showing them that they can. Here's a quick video.
The ocean would be very different without sharks. A shark is a magnificent creature to me. I learned about shark finning when I watched Shark Week. Shark finning is when you catch the shark, cut off its fins, and throw the rest of the body overboard. I felt really sad that people would even do that to a living creature. I wanted to do something about it. I wrote a letter to Representative Dave Nagle. In my letter, I asked to stop shark finning in Massachusetts. I was 7 years old. I was there that moment when the Senate voted, so I was really happy that it passed. I never thought so many people cared about shark finning. Making a difference feels amazing. If I can protect sharks, other people can too. My name is Sean Lesniak. Shark Week definitely changed my life.
So I love what Sean says, though, in the sense that if he was able to do that, he was 7 years old and he made an impact. We need to show that our students and give them the opportunity to make an impact now as well. If we figure out what our students' passions are, just like Sean there, just like Dr. Lavillo did for me, they're going to become amazing innovators. They're going to be the ones leading the future, not just in Mercer County here, not just in our nation, but globally as well. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're stop asking them what they want to be when they grow up, and we need to start asking them what problems they want to solve. Students are engaged by passions. They're engaged by stories. They're engaged by the things that they feel that they can make a difference in. That's what we truly need to do. That's what STEM is truly about, is making a difference in the world. So with that, I do say thank you, and I will turn it over to Jared. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. With that, I'm going to have Mindy Kramer come up and talk from a slightly different perspective. I know we're getting closer on time, but just have her just talk a little bit about her perspective, not just from Mercer Health as one of our leading businesses, but as a mom, and how this impacts, again, who we are and what we want to be proactively in the future. One other quick housekeeping note. Karen's in the back for anybody interested in learning more about what we're trying to do. Again, as a county, as a region, what we want to be. As Karen and Shelley said, we have great schools. Everything is awesome, today. Today's going to be half over. And what we want to be into the future and continuously pushing our region as hard as we can is what's going to continue to make our region as great as it is today, tomorrow for our kids. So with that, again, any information, please stop by at Karen's desk there in the back and take us information. With that, I'm going to close it out.
Thank you, Jared. Good morning, everybody. When Jared and Karen asked me to speak about this particular topic, I was honored. Like Jared said, this is something, for me, I'm very passionate about as a business person, but also as a mother. So I jumped at the opportunity, and again, I thank them very much. I'm sure for most of us, our business stories and our beginnings are very much the same. For us at Mercer Health, it began after World War II. Men were coming back, families were getting larger, new idea was booming in Coldwater, and there was a need for health care. And so some businessmen made that happen. They saw a need, they had a dream, they had the ingenuity and hard work and made it happen. The result was a hospital, and today a healthcare system that continues to grow. If you don't know, the fence is up, and the $24 million expansion project has started this week. But we're very proud of that. But it took that hard work and it took that ingenuity of those men so long ago, and it continues today. At Mercer Health, we have very highly skilled employees in those STEM areas. Sciences like biology and physiology are obvious. Technology that we use in our electronic medical records programs, engineering, really all the STEM advances allow us to provide services that were never dreamt of years ago. We have a telestroke program where a patient who is presenting in our ER with stroke-like symptoms can be contacted or seen by a neurologist in Fort Wayne, which allows for a quicker diagnosis, which allows for brain functioning to be retained. We have a local man, and I think he might be here today, or I saw him this morning, who we were able to provide with the advances in bioengineering, the support of his exoskeleton, and he's able to walk again after 6 years being in a wheelchair. Just unbelievable. With a click of a button, we can send an x-ray to a radiologist specialist in Hawaii in the middle of the night, get real-time diagnosis for, again, a patient that maybe comes through our ER. The technology is amazing, but it takes the skill and the education of the person
to be able to provide that. A lot of our employees, as I'm sure a lot of yours, are local. They come from, our local communities. And when a patient comes through our doors and sees a familiar face, sees a friend, sees a neighbor, maybe even a family member, there's a comfort level there. And we're really proud to be able to provide that. I'm sure all of us would agree that strong communities are a result of those strong community services. But I think the strongest communities, what we're all talking about here today, are when those strong community services link together. At Mercer Health, we're blessed to have a workforce that is compassionate and caring, but they've been educated by our local schools for the most part. Mercer Health's future, as I'm sure all of yours, depends upon the ingenuity of our kids, like Mr. Gerlach said right now. As I stated earlier, the need for technological, analytical, and critical thinking skills is increasingly necessary for what we do at Mercer Health, and I'm sure it's for all of you as well. But not only do I think this is the right thing to do for businesses, like Jared said, I'm very passionate about this from a personal level. I see the daily need, and when I talk about my kids, I get emotional, but I see the daily need for education and exposure with my elementary age kids. I have 3 boys, 2 of them are in elementary school, Coldwater. And typically, when I say, "What'd you do in school today?" I don't get much, unless it was phys ed day, and then they tell me what they're doing in gym. But when they have those monthly STEM challenges, or yesterday my first grader did the old egg drop from the roof project, they're so excited to tell me about that stuff. They're so excited to tell me about the materials that they used, or who was on their team and how they worked together, or how they came up with a solution to solve the problem that they were presented with. And again, those are activities. And I'd love to see that integrated in every day. With that being said, we all have that kid. Mr. Gerlach said that, we all have that kid. My middle son is that kid. He requires constant tactile, kinesthetic learning. He just thrives in that environment. He has an extreme desire for manipulation. He was about 4 years old, and he asked, "Can I take my bike apart?" And my husband and I were both like, sure, do it. Since then, he's tried to put it back together. He's tried to make other things with that bike. He's taken more things apart than I care to admit, to be quite honest. He'll get our car jack out, and he'll mess with those things. He really just has that desire. But in kindergarten, at the end of kindergarten last year, he still didn't know his phone number. He could barely read a basic board book. At the end of first grade, and again, I get emotional when I talk about it, we still struggle. We still struggle with basic reading skills. He can't connect to books and flashcards. They mean little to him. But when he can see a concept and can manipulate it with his hands, you can actually see it. You can see him learn. And he'll say to me, he goes, "Mom, I can see that in my head." That's what this is all about. His ability to learn is truly maximized through these experiences. You see, as a business person, but even more so as a mom, just like Mr. Gerlach said, this isn't a trend. This isn't a buzzword. This is how I see my kids and many, many others succeeding to their highest potential in the classroom and beyond. To me, STEM initiatives not only give kids a strategic advantage for better job opportunities in the future, and for us as employers, a more highly skilled and prepared workforce, but it gives kids, some more than others, like my middle son, an option, an opportunity to learn, a new window to understanding and a personal confidence in him that he doesn't get in that conventional classroom. I see it in his eyes. STEM education is something he can wrap his head around. It fires him up, and it fires off something inside where he can understand and comprehend basic concepts that he couldn't otherwise. And oftentimes, it's even beyond those basic concepts. With that being said, I implore you, not just for my kids, obviously, but for all kids and for the future of our businesses. Just like our organization started with a need, with a dream, and with ingenuity and hard work, we need to do this today. There's a need, there's a dream. And with ingenuity and hard work that I know all of us in this spring can put together, we can advance the future. So I implore you to support the STEM initiatives in education in our communities. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks again. It's a great way to wrap up. Appreciate everybody coming. And again, we're going to continue to have these kind of forums in the spring on these kind of topics. But who knows, in the future, we nail all this. Maybe we won't need to. We'll find something else to talk about. That's the goal. So yeah, appreciate everybody coming, and see Karen and Shelley if you'd like on the way out, and just keep the communication going. That's all we're looking for. It's stronger communities, there's stronger connections, and I think that's what we have, and we'll just keep plugging away. So thanks again for coming.